don't stress out, nigga. Hold my chest out, nigga. Wait on my shoulder, bring the best out, nigga.
Hey, yo, let's go, y'all. Let's run a report.
You get left out, nigga. Play a pocket, my cassette out, nigga. I remember feeling like a stepchild.
Hey, yo, what's going on? This is Dre E. I'm the host of the Minority Report. This is episode 2, self-love and self-care. Just gonna talk about a few things, piggybacking off the stuff we talked about in episode 1. If you didn't catch episode 1, you catch it on the Minority Report, and that's Rapport Rapport, Minority Report by Dre E on your YouTube channels. I'm also on the Anchor app, so please get the Anchor app, download the app. It's just another streaming service for for podcasts, just like Apple Music and just like Spotify is. My podcast should be up on those platforms sometime mid this week coming up. So I'm looking forward to that. But until then, like I said, you can reach me on the Anchor app. Download the app. It's easy. It's simple. Download the app. Look for the Minority Report by Dre E, and we're up and running. All right. So with all that being said, let's get into it. Let's start the conversation. So episode 1, we talked about dating. We talked about relationships, online dating, love, men. We talked about women. We talked about some dudes. We talked about some don'ts. So with that being said, I want to backtrack a little bit before we get into the relationship and talk about some things that we all should be aware of before getting into a relationship. So first and foremost, before you get into a relationship, you have to be whole with yourself. We can't look for somebody to complete you. You can't look for someone to bring you happiness, because no matter what, if you're not happy with yourself, there's nothing anybody could do. Christ himself come down here and try to date you, and you're still going to be unhappy because you're not whole within yourself. So I stress that a lot because, like I said, man, I've been on this earth for 40 years, and it took me pretty much all of damn 40 years to understand that I had no business in any of the relationships that I was in. And it wasn't because of the women that I've dated. It was just simply because I hadn't gotten real with myself, and I hadn't addressed some things that occurred to me in my past as far as my trust issues when it came to women. So I started going to therapy. Therapy is a beautiful thing. I know in most minority households that the whole therapy thing is like taboo to us. But I'm here to let you know it's a beautiful thing. I love it. I start back up in 2020, just getting my sessions out the way. Because like I said, I just think therapy is just a beautiful thing. It's not one of those things, whereas, like I said, it's so taboo in our hoods, especially in the black neighborhoods and black communities. It's just one of those taboo things. But therapy is great. Now, outside of that, if you're not going to go through therapy, it's pertinent that you be 100% with yourself. And the thing is, if you can't be 100% with yourself, then really, who could you be 100% with, right? So you want to always keep it 100 with yourself. Now, the problem is, and why so many marriages fail nowadays, so many relationships fail nowadays. Got women saying that, niggas ain't shit. You got dudes talking about women ain't shit. It's just it's like this a battle of the sexes going on, and we can't figure out what the problem is. But the problem is, a lot of us, especially in the minority household, in the minority communities, we've experienced so much trauma before the age of 18, and none of us has really ever dealt with that shit before, just to be completely honest. I mean, we're just going around because, we're taught, especially in the black community, we're taught not to address those issues, to keep pushing on, to move forward. We're taught all of those things. Now, like I said, as far as my relationships are concerned, I probably should have never been in none of them, to be completely honest with you, because I was not ever really willing to be 100, 1,000% with myself, because of the lack of my mother being there for me. Now, some of you who know me and some of you who know me well, I'll just explain it like this. just try to sum it up real quick for you. So, me growing up before I entered elementary school, my mother had left me in the back of a taxi cab with my brother, with my older brother, right? Left my sister in like a bar slash grill thing. And like I said, this is all, I was the youngest. This is all before I turned, before I went to elementary. So it had to be before I was 5 or around 5. But that's what happened to me. So previously to that, my mom was dealing drugs, selling drugs, things of that nature. And we all got, of course, we got caught up in all of that good stuff. Everything that has to do with the drug underworld, we was a part of that. Me and my siblings, we were a part of that. We witnessed abuse. We witnessed abuse from my mom. I mean, not from my mom, towards my mom, from the people that she was dealing with. And all of that stuff is traumatizing. And then from there, once my mom left us once my mom abandoned us in the back of that taxi cab and walked away, we ended up in the state, in the group home. And then at that time, and I didn't realize, of course, I didn't realize and know what was going on. But that was my first experience with racism when I look back at it, because they kept me and my brother, who is a darker complexion than me, they kept us in the basement, eating oatmeal every damn day. And that was that. They kept us in the basement eating oatmeal. We couldn't go upstairs and play with the rest of the kids and things of that nature. Of course, I didn't understand none of that when I was younger. And to be quite frank with you, I didn't care. I didn't know nothing about that. I knew I had my brother there, and that's what mattered to me. My older brother was there. He held me down. He made sure I was taken care of. So that's what mattered to me. As long as I had him, I figured I was good. And then you guys got to understand, like, when you're coming from a background like that, you don't even know that you being homeless at times, you going from house to house, you being made to traffic drugs from fucking Oakland to LA and anywhere in between. All of that stuff is normal to a kid such as myself at that age, because that's all I knew. I was born into that. That's what was going on when I came into this world. So I don't want anybody to think like, oh shit, that's that. I mean, that's wild. That's crazy. Yes, that is wild and that's crazy. But I never knew that any of that shit was wrong at the time, right? So then we get to the group home, and then we get to the group home. We was there for about a year and a half, something like that, until my aunties came and got us out of the group home, which was in turn turned out to be the best year and a half of my life, honestly, man. And then, my pops came through after that year, after he got wind of what was going on, came through, scooped us up. And, I'm looking at it like, hey, man, my pops is here. My life is about to, really get even more better than it was at my auntie's house. Because at my aunt's house, it was all love there. I mean, I guess that was the first time I witnessed a family unit in my aunt's house, in both of my aunt's houses. So it was all love. I mean, that was all love. And then, like I said, my pops is the one who, instructed his sisters to come get us out of the system and things of that nature. Because obviously my mother wasn't able, because she was out running the streets doing the things that she was doing, right? So after that, my pops came through. My pops is in the Army. Came through finally, was able to come and get us and, take us out of, take us from my aunt's house. And like I said, I mean, at the time, I was in the first grade, I believe. I was in the first grade about around that time when he came through and got us. And no, I'm lying. I was in the second grade. By the time he came through and got us, I was in the second grade. So he came through, got us. And like I said, I mean, this is my pops. I've heard nothing but good things about my father. And I was looking forward to it. I was the youngest of his first 3 kids. And then I'm actually a middle child. So we get, to my father's house, and honestly, that's when I first knew that there was something going on wrong in my life, because that's when I first started witnessing both physical and mental abuse from my stepmother, right? So that shit was just hell on earth, and it was traumatic experience after traumatic experience. She was honestly she was the devil in my opinion when I was coming up, because like I said, I mean, as soon as we get to where we was going, and my dad, got off of leave, which is vacation for people who don't understand military terms, and he got back to work, the abuse started immediately, and she started to train us immediately to be afraid of her, to fear her, and I was very fearful of her. I was afraid of her, and honestly, and honest to God, I mean, although I've been through all of that stuff in the drug world when it came to my biological mother, just horrific events that was going on around there. Like I said, I didn't know no better. I knew, like I said, that was normal because I was born into that. But this abuse thing, I never been abused by someone who was supposed to love me. So getting abused both physically and mentally from her, from day in and day out for about second grade to eighth grade. So for about 6 years, really 7 years, because I failed the 6th grade because I was bad as fuck, and I was going through so much that grades was not my priority. I didn't care nothing about that. But to backtrack and get back on track to what I was saying, I experienced that abuse for 7 years in that household, every day, and every day that my father was not around. It was beating after beating. She gave me my first black eye. She gave me my first stitches in my forehead. She made me have a fucking crooked smile on my top teeth. She gave me I got a 3rd degree burn here from a curling iron that she did to me because I couldn't find some shoes of hers or something like that. It was just fucking hell on earth, man. And I say all that to say this: traumatic experiences that happened throughout my life, especially with, I guess you could say, two of the most prominent women in my life. I mean, my mother, at a young age, like I said before, I was in elementary school, she turned her back on me and walked away, right? And then I get into a loving, I leave that situation, I get into my auntie's house, and I finally get to see, the definition of a true family unit. My aunts, both of them, they held that down, and it was all love. They treated us right. They did everything they could do. My grandfather, my daddy Frank, he was around, picking us up every weekend, just showing us that love and that support that we needed at that time. And like I said, I was the youngest, so I was just going with the flow. But like I said, when I got to my father's house, that's when I knew that, none of this shit is correct right here. Like, I knew that at that age, 2nd grade, that I should not be getting beat up every damn day from my fucking stepmom. You know what I mean? And that's what I knew, so from there, man, from there, it got about, like I said, 8th grade. I'm dealing with abuse. My dad, he retired out of the Army, became a truck driver. So, he wasn't around. So, that abuse, matter of fact, once he became a truck driver, what my stepmom used to do, man, she would beat my ass, man, straight up. She would beat me. Once she knew my dad was like out of the, I ain't gonna say city limits, but pretty much out of the state limits, man, she would like beat my ass and then, kick me out the house. And from that point on, I mean, I'd be homeless until she knew my dad was coming off the road. And then she'll call the police on me and report me as a runaway. So then the police department would come get me off the street and take me home before my dad would get home. Now, a lot of you are saying, well, why didn't you tell your dad? I mean, if you've been abused as a child, if you're a victim of domestic violence, then we understand each other and we understand why we didn't tell. I feared my stepmother more than I feared anyone and God himself, period. That's just is what it is. So after abuse and all of that shit, man, I ended up being homeless for the most part from 8th to 10th grade until a couple of my friends. I mean, they pretty much took care of me. Now, what does all of that have to do with dating and relationships? I never dealt with that. You know, once my best friend took me into his house, man, I felt that family unit again, and it was all love. But I never addressed those issues that happened in my past. Those issues started to resurface for me once I got into the Air Force and things was just, you know, shit was just all out of control, to be completely honest with you. So it was a whole maturation thing. But then I started to notice that in my dating life, shit, I couldn't give these women all of me because I wasn't whole myself. You know what I mean? I wasn't whole myself. I thought I was whole. And the thing about it is like, you know, we're like I said, we're taught in our communities not to talk about these issues, not to tell on your abuser and all of that. Man, that shit's for the birds. You know what I mean? They say I think, don't quote me on this shit, but they say 3 out of 5 girls are molested in their household, are molested before the age of 13 by someone close to them, mainly a family member. Now, like I said, I mean, we're taught, hey, we don't talk about that shit. This shit is taboo. But them motherfuckers, they're ruining our lives. Now, I wasn't molested or anything as a child, but I damn sure was beat the fuck up as a child. I was abused as a child. Day in and day out for fucking 7 years. Like straight up. For 7 fucking years straight. I was going through hell. And I ain't tell not a motherfucking soul. And then the people that I tried to tell, the adults that I tried to tell, they didn't believe that. It was one time, I mean, I was in my house. I told my father, I mean, my stepmom, she was straightening her hair with a hot comb. Black community, Latin community. y'all know what I'm talking about. That hot straightening comb that you put on the stove, you let get hot, and you straighten your hair and shit. So one day my pops was actually at home, and my stepmom was doing her hair on the hot comb and just fucking burned me right here, 2nd-degree burn right here on my arm, just because I was walking by, and she fucking just hated the sight of me. She hated the fact that my father had kids before her, and she looked at us like we was ruining their little happy family that they had. So from the moment we got there to the fucking moment she actually kicked me out the house, a little bit after between 8th grade and my 9th grade year, she hated my ass. She hated me. She hated the shit out of me for no reason other than I wasn't her child, and she hated the fact that my dad had kids before her. And that's straight up what it is, man. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, while I was there, I did a lot of lying to my father, and a lot of that came from my stepmom. She would want me to lie. She would lie on me and said I did things that I didn't do, so my father could grow a fucking strong disdain for myself. And he did. I mean, he looked at me like I was his fucking problem child. But when the whole fucking time, it was my motherfucking stepmom being fucking evil and evil as fuck. So I'm saying all this, and this is a PSA, public service announcement. We got to protect our children. We got to listen to our children. We got to pick up on the signs of abuse. If your children aren't acting like their joyous self, or if a child you recognize isn't acting joyful, children should be full of life. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that they're going to be full of life every day. I'm not saying that that everyone's going to come from a joyous fucking background, but for the most part, children are pretty fucking happy because, like I said, when you're born into things that poverty and, you know, unforeseen circumstances and things of that nature, when you're young and shit, you don't really recognize that shit. You really don't, you know, peep game what's going on in the world really until you're in middle school, and then people start exposing you to. That's when you really that's when I really started to notice that I was different from a lot of fucking people. That I was a have-not. That I was an outcast. That I was poor. That I didn't have the things that people had. I was ashy, man. I was I never had a haircut. I wore the same clothes. I mean, my stepmom would never buy me shit. One pair of pants, 2 shirts, a pair of shoes, all from Kmart and Payless, and that shit had to last me through the whole year. And if you rock those things like I did, then you know, like after a month or two, that shit was tearing the fuck up, right? It was just all bad, right? So, again, I say this: pay attention, man. Pay attention to the kids. Even if you don't have kids, man, pay attention to your nieces, pay attention to your nephews, pay attention to your friends' kids, because there's telltale signs of what's going on. And like I said, I know my father, I know he, when that hot comb shit happened to me, I told him straight up. He didn't do anything, but like I said, I mean, as far as my father is concerned, I understood once I got older why he never intervened, and that's a whole nother story. But back to this story, it's like, yo, there's kids out there with suffering. We've especially in the minority community, we've gone through a lot of shit. I mean, just growing up in the hood, growing up in the ghetto, and all of those things. No, I didn't grow up in the hood or the ghetto. I'm from Killeen, Texas. But I was homeless in Killeen when shit, I was fucking shouldn't have been homeless. So that's that. I mean, so life began for me way earlier than most people, so the maturation process for myself kicked in a lot earlier than my peers. So with all that being said, fast forward to my adult life, and I'm dating women, and it's just one of those things to whereas I never really took the time out to address those demons and to address the issues that I had with the 2 most prominent women in my life, being my mother and my stepmother. And both of those women let me down to no avail, you know what I mean? They really fucking altered the way I looked at things and the way I looked at women going forward in life. So it took me, like I said, it took me 40 years. I really started to notice this shit like around 35, like, yo, I really need to address some of these things that I was going through. So when it comes to dating, it's like we only love how we were taught to love. You know what I mean? And we could only, well, I'm gonna say we can't only, but we only love other people the way we were taught to love. So if we grew up in a household and our love was shown through selfishness, to be selfish, or if the love was very prideful, then that's how we're going to be taught to love. Now, it's one of these things, and I only use this as an example because I hear it a lot from women when they say that, hey man, they ain't no real men out here. These niggas ain't shit. Niggas ain't shit. And they ain't no real men out here. But honestly, let's just keep it 1,000. A lot of us has never even seen a fucking real man in our lives. That's just the complete unadulterated truth when it comes to that fact. A lot of us have never seen a real fucking man in our lives growing up. We may have seen one from afar, like I see my grandfather from afar. I see my father from afar. I mean, he was a good man. I mean, he had a lot of good qualities, but there were some qualities that he was severely lacking. You know what I mean? And that's okay, man. I mean, but real talk, most of us, we grew up in a single parent household, no father around. Your moms is out here dating, different types of dudes, and I'm talking about, this is not for women only. This is both men and women, because we grow up without a man in the household, so we're forced to pick up what our idea of a man is from the men that our mothers bring around, the men that's in our family, the men that we see on TV, the men that we, the shit we listen to in our music and things of that nature, and all of that, just like every other kid is molding what a definition of a man is. But a lot of us, like I said, we ain't never even seen a fucking real ass man in our lives, and that's just the honest truth. That's why a lot of dudes nowadays, they can't really grow up to be men, because they never really seen what a real man looks like. A lot of women, they have a lot of issues with a lot of men because of the lack of men being in their life, the lack of men being in their lives, meaning their fathers, or they never had an uncle to step up to teach them about men. So they're learning all of this shit from their peers and from what they see in society. And like I said, if you grew up in the urban community, then we didn't have a lot of good examples of what a real man looked like. So it's not always, but a lot of the times it's hilarious to me when women that I know, and I know their background, they say, well, ain't no real men out here. Well, shit, man, we ain't never really seen no real men. Ain't no real women out here. Well, a lot of you guys, you know, your moms, y'all had your mother, your moms, I mean, she held it down. She did the best she could. And this might be a controversial statement, but your mom, man, she could do the best job she possibly can, a single mom. And she will do the best job that she possibly can. But a woman can't raise no man. And that's just the reality of it. There's certain things that a man could teach a boy that a woman can't teach a boy. And that's just the reality of it. So a lot of dudes is growing up out here without their fathers and shit. So they don't know how to love. A lot of us, we've never seen a man love our mother properly. Period. So like I said, we're growing up and we're learning subconsciously the way to love people, and it's just not the right way to love people. I read something a while ago that said the problem with most relationships is we get into relationships and we're trying to love the person we love, or the person we're with. We're trying to love them the way we love, instead of trying to understand how they accept love and how they want to be loved. And that's very, very important, because if I'm with someone and I don't know how she receives love and she doesn't know how I receive love, then we're just going to keep on batting heads. We're just going to keep ramming each other's head until we're over with, you know? So back to this self-love and this self-care, it's vitally important that we work through the traumatic experiences that we've had in our past. That's important. I mean, if we got to read self-help books, there's a lot of podcasts out there, such as this one, that helps people work through some things. There's life coaches out there. There's therapists out there. We just got in the minority community. We just got to get over that stupid ass shit that we don't talk to people about our problems. Because what we end up doing is, like I said, we bring all of those damn problems into every fucking relationship that we're ever in, and it destroys every fucking relationship that we're ever in. That's why majority of the people my age, including myself, is single. Because we never want to talk to people about our problems, and we never want to address these things out loud. And the thing about addressing these things out loud and sharing these things, and I just shared a lot of shit with you guys about myself, and I don't even give a hell. I don't give a shit, just to be completely honest with you. Because I know that my story is going to help someone out there, period. So that's why we got to become more vocal. When you're comfortable, of course, when you're comfortable in becoming more vocal in your stance of who you are, then let's start being vocal. Let's start talking about these things. Let's start having these roundtable discussions about growth and about the betterment of self and perseverance. We have to. We have to preserve ourselves. We have to heal ourselves. For one, to be whole with our partner. And a lot of us now, we have kids, and we don't want to continue this cycle of just traumatic experiences and pushing that shit off on our children. That's just not what we want. We want to be whole. We want to be happy. We deserve to be happy. We deserve to live freely. But if we're harboring all of those feelings and all of those emotions and things of that nature in, and we're still holding on to family secrets and protecting the fucking very people who damaged us as kids and as people, period, we're doing our children, we're doing the children a great disservice out there. We really got to start, we really have to start becoming 100% with ourselves. There's a lot of shit that's going on in the world. There's a lot of shit that's going on behind y'all closed doors. There's a lot of shit that you guys have witnessed in your childhood that you guys have never let out. From the bottom of my heart, man, I beg you, go see a therapist. Go see a life coach. Write that shit out. Go talk to it. Go talk about it with your best friend. Go talk about it with one of your close cousins. Go talk about it with someone. Because we got to start getting those things out. I remember 2005. It was it was 2005, man. I haven't been harboring all these feelings about my mother and stuff. My daughters, my twins were they were one year old. They were 1 year old. And I had been harboring all these feelings about my mother and things I wanted to tell her and things I wanted to address because I didn't want to rob my daughters of the love that they deserve to have from me, because I was still holding on to some type of resentment and things for my mother. I had to be whole with myself, and I still wasn't whole, but I knew that was a big part of what was going to set me free to be able to freely love my daughters the way I freely wanted to love my daughters. So I was living in Vegas at the time. My family originates from the Bay Area. So I took that 10 to 12 hour drive up through up to the Bay Area, stopped at one of my homies' houses, and I stopped even with my childhood friend, man. I told him, like, yo, this is what I'm thinking about doing. He was like, word. And so I chilled with him that night, and then the next morning came, and I didn't want to go. And then he convinced me. He was like, nah, Dre, you got to go. You got to go, man. You got to get that. You got to get that. You got to get that chip off your shoulder. You got to get that boulder off your shoulders. He said, so he handed me a Garmin or Garwin, whatever you want to call it, the navigation shit. He typed in the address and he sent me on about my way. And I did. I went, I dressed my mother. And the thing was, man, before I dressed my mother and all the, the shit that I've been through, I had to be 100% with myself and just let myself know that, I had to reach a point with myself in knowing that no matter what she told me, because now I had kids, no matter what she told me, it wasn't going to be good enough. But I still needed to let her know that I turned out all right. And I wanted to let her know that I forgave her. And when I did that, yeah, man, that seemed like some of the weight of the world on my shoulders had came off. So I had tackled that position with her. A few years later, I finally got to address my stepmom, and I finally got to address my stepmom, and I finally got to address my father. So that shit began the healing process. But way before then, I grew up with this real close group of friends in Killeen who held me down, man. They held me down, and I was able to talk to them about the things that I experienced as a child growing up. And I just, like I said, I just began to start allowing myself to heal from all of the traumatic experiences that was going on in my life at that young age. And then, like I said, once I was able to address my mother, I was able to address my stepmother, I was able to address my father, that's when the real healing started to come for myself. And then just started to like really date women, like get in full-blown relationships with women. I started to realize that I'll let them in, but I only let them in to a certain extent. I keep them at an arm's length, like right out of reach. Because I felt that if I was vulnerable with these women, that they're going to end up hurting me somehow, some way. Because I've only ever been, all of us has only really been ever hurt by someone truly close to us. And for me, it just happens to be my mother and my stepmother. That's why for me, man, I honestly believe the traumatic shit that happened to me at an early age was both a gift and a curse. It was both a gift and a curse. It truly was. It was a curse in the sense that all of that shit happened to me, but it was a gift in the sense that at an early age, I learned at an early age, before elementary school, that saying blood is thicker than water and family is always family, no, that shit does not matter. I witnessed it. I lived it. I'm still living it. Some of my closest friends are my family, and I still, those same friends that took care of me from 8th grade till current day, I'm still rocking with all of them. Those are my family members. Those shout out to the Bonilla family. The Bonilla family took me in 10th grade or summer of 10th grade, something like that. They finally took me in. And before that, shout out to my boy Thomas Monomeyer. You know, Mama Sylvia. God rest her soul. Took me in off the streets. They fed me. They made sure I was right. You know what I mean? So I know that I'm sitting here today because of those people in my life. So when it came to those relationships, like I said, with women, it's different from the bonds and relationships I have with my friends, because these women, they really had the opportunity to really hurt me. So I always just keep them at an arm's length until I really started to, like I said, I really started to do some self-evaluation and just work through some shit, starting on my own, and then just starting to talk to my friends who are therapists, psychiatrists, and things of that nature. And they was helping me get through some things, going to mental health when I was in the Air Force, going through some things. And like I said, I mean, I probably got friends right now, some of my closest friends, my brothers and sisters in arms, who probably never even know I went to mental health while I was in the Air Force. Because like I said, it was taught that, you know, it was taboo to talk about, right? So I try every morning when I get up to have a better day than I did the previous day. For one, because I'm blessed to even wake up the next day, God willing. For two is I genuinely want to be a better person. I'm genuinely trying to change the world. Some of this shit that I just told y'all that I've been through, I mean, I've seen a lot of shit. I've been through a lot of shit. So I'm trying to change a lot of shit. My goal is always to help the underprivileged, to help the battered, to help the domestic violence victims, to help the victims of child abuse, to to cure homelessness. I was homeless as a teenager. I have a very soft spot for veterans. I'm a veteran. So everything that I've been through in my life, I try to give back to it somehow, some way. Because I mean, a lot of this shit, man, it just gets overlooked, you know? But we got to start paying more attention. We got to start just doing the right thing, period. And by doing the right thing, we can't do the right thing for, like I said, if we're not whole with ourselves, we can't do the right thing. So I hope that I've shed some enlightenment on, you know, the things that's going on and how important self-love and self-care is. Because like I said, man, if you're not working on that for yourself, like I said, you're going to pretty much ruin every relationship that you go into going forward. And that's just the reality of it. And a lot of it, like I said, a lot of y'all have tucked it away and y'all have suppressed it so much, because that's what I did at some point in time. To whereas I wasn't even aware of the shit that I was doing, keeping these women at an arm's length. I would confide in things with my homegirls and my homeboys and my cousins and shit that I would never tell my significant other at the time. That shit is bogus, because your significant other should be your best friend. You should be able to tell that person anything. without feeling like that person's going to judge you, or this person's going to be mad at you, or this person's going to look at you a certain way. But you got to get whole with yourself first in order to be that confident to tell someone the things that you've been through in your personal life. And like I said, to open up all of this dialogue, because there's a whole slew of us out here that are hurting, harboring all these family secrets, harboring all of these secrets from our childhoods and shit, and that shit is eating us alive. I got about half the women that I know either haven't had their father, have been molested, have been raped, or some traumatic experience has happened to them in their lives. And a lot of those women I know, they're still single. Some of them, a quarter of them, or probably half of them, are still blaming that shit on men. Like, nah, man, let's talk about it. It's like we see it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, man. I was victim of it, man. I mean, I see it on social media. Got homegirls who fuck shit, man. They got a new man, like literally, like every quarter, every 3 to 4 months, they got a new man, and they in love with them. He's their everything, and then 3 to 4 months later, this nigga ain't shit. Blase, and I laugh. I'm like, and at times I'm like, yo, again. But I'm not gonna lie, because I'm always gonna be who I am. I get in their DMs, or I'll text them, like, yo, man, you need to come fuck with me. Come talk to me. Let's talk about some things. Let's work out some things, because I don't like the way they're portraying themselves on social media. I just don't like it. Like I said, I'm very caring, and I'm a genuine person, and I'm genuine in my approach. Like that, every fucking a new man, and you gotta post your new man. They're like, yo, let the shit work out first. A lot of people would talk about me and my relationships and things of that nature, and like, oh, you don't never post your girl, and you never post your girl when you had a girl, and you know what, blase. That's none of y'all business. That's our business. The less people involved in your business, the better your relationship's gonna be. That's a fact. That's statistics. Statistics show that. That's a fact. So back to the women, and some men don't really do it, but a lot of women, they really do, man. They every new fucking guy they get, they posting this nigga, man. They all happy. It's all love. He the best dude they ever seen, and finally got a real one and all of this shit, and then the shit falls apart in 3 to 4 months because you ain't ready. You got to deal with what's going on inside of you before you're able to see this man for who the fuck he is. Shit, I want everybody to be happy, but I want you to be happy with yourself first. All right. So let me get down to I'm gonna read a few things to you about self-love, self-care real quick. It says, recognize that you're experiencing emotional distress or mental suffering. That's what we've been talking about this whole podcast. You got to recognize what's going on with you. Stop deflecting. Stop pointing at people. Stop blaming other people. Look at yourself first and deal with that first. Be your own life coach. Again, something that I said earlier. Be your own life coach. Sit your ass down. If you got to write it out, write it out. Let's talk about it. Talk about it with yourself. Try to work through it with yourself. If not, hey, I'm here. Life coach, dating coach, relationship coach, whatever you want to call it. I'm here. If you can't work it out with yourself, I'm here. That's that. Decide what it would take to forgive yourself. A lot of us, including myself, blame me. I mean, I blame me. I thought I was a badass kid while my mom left me in the back of that taxi cab, or me and my siblings, we were bad. Like, we did something wrong. I used to blame myself for my stepmother abusing me and hating me, and my dad like never really intervening when it came to that shit. I used to blame myself. Into well into my late 20s, to finally, like I said, realize like, yo, that shit ain't had nothing to do with me. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive myself for what was going on with me. Accept that the feelings are there. You got to accept the shit. You got to accept what's going on with you inside. You got to accept that, and you have to start addressing that, and you have to start working on that. Let's see. Act on what you need rather than what you want. A lot of us, we need self-care. We need self-love. A lot of us want a relationship. A lot of us want a man or a woman to do that for us, to take care of that for us. Nah, what we need is self-care and self-love before we start looking at what we want. Okay? Think about how everyone messes up sometimes. We're not perfect, man. And you know what? That's a good thing. That's a good note that I wrote down. We're not perfect. It took me 40 fucking years to come to a head with myself and say, you know what, Dre, man, fuck these niggas. You know what I mean? Like, for real. Like, fuck what they talking about. Fuck what they think. It don't matter. And the crazy thing is, man, I used to be one of these dudes walking around like, I don't really give a fuck about what people say. And I really didn't to a certain extent. But I really thought I never gave a fuck about what really anybody said outside of my closest friends. But then I realized that I really gave a fuck about perception and how people perceive me. So when I went through this 2019, it ended up being the worst year of my life, man. I mean, I did a lot of downsizing in my life. I lost a lot of shit in my life. And I was worried. I was like, well, shit. How they gonna perceive me if I ain't driving this $80,000 Lexus no more? How they gonna perceive me if I ain't living up in the fucking bougie ass neighborhood that I'm living in? My people. I'm wondering this shit about my people because they're all judgmental. But fuck them, because you know what? They're going through their own shit. Everybody going through their own shit. A lot of us just do a better job at hiding what we go through. I'm done with all that. How you see me and how you meet me how you see me and how you meet me, wherever it is in my life, is how you see and how you meet me. I'm not fronting for nobody. For what? Because if you're not around me to inspire me, to motivate me, to make me want to do better, I don't need you around me no way. So I know y'all, they're going to get behind their, their screens, talk that shit on social media about you, talk that shit behind your back, but that shit don't even matter. I'm so at peace with myself, and I'm so whole with myself. It really doesn't matter what too much of anybody thinks about me at this point. And I'm just being honest. I have no reason to lie to nobody. I have no reason to want to front and want to keep things from anybody. If you ask me, I'm gonna tell you. You might not like the answer, but I'm gonna tell you. But yeah, nobody's perfect. Nobody walking this earth is perfect. So stop feeling as if you have to be perfect, especially around your family and your loved ones. They fucking up too, trust me. Some of them are way worse off than you are. Like I said, they just do a better job of hiding it. Let's see what else. Set boundaries. Love yourself more. Set boundaries. You'll love yourself more when you set limits. And that's true. That's exactly what I just said, pretty much. A lot of us is out here living for other people and for what other people may think and what other people may say. Fuck those people. Live for yourself. If you have kids, live for your kids. If you have a significant other, live for them. You guys should be, especially if you have a significant other, you guys should be moving as a unit, period. Move as a unit, move together, and should no one be able to come in between that. That's your mama, that's your daddy, that's your brother, your sisters, your cousins, your family, period. That's why a lot of us are single as well. We too busy listening to our mama. And not to disrespect anyone's mama, but shit, some of y'all mamas been in fucking 4 or 5 relationships in 3 or 4 marriages. What the fuck do they really know about marriage except for that has failed for them a lot of times. But you steady taking that advice from your fucking mama. Like, I mean, come on. Or your daddy, whoever. But it mainly comes from mamas. Just being real. But a lot of that shit comes from their bitterness. And a lot of that shit comes from the fact that they never addressed their fucking problems and the things that they had going on when they was coming up. All right? So, I'm long-winded. I appreciate it. Share, show the love, share the pod. The Minority Report, Rapport by Dre E. I am King Dre. Ask Coach Dre on the Instagram platform. You could download the podcast on the Anchor app. Like I said, I should be on Spotify and Apple sometime midweek. Hopefully. Peace and love, y'all. It's been real.